So I was planning on earlier today, I was planning on talking a little college football playoff with you guys, getting into the NFL weekend and more on this Thursday night, but a bomb got dropped in the college football world earlier today. So change of plans and for good reason. Quinshon Judkins has hit the portal. He is leaving Ole Miss, and there is a metric ton of things to unpack with this one. So we're going to try to do our best to do that together here tonight. My name is Michael Borky. Thank you guys for checking this out and tuning in. As always, like the video, leave a comment if you're watching after the fact. I would appreciate that. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I post a new video or when we go live. So I'll give you some quick thoughts, and then we'll get into your comments because I know you guys are going to have a lot to say, and that's kind of the point of this. And so we'll do that. But first, what is more interesting to me, and you guys will probably disagree with this, but what is more interesting to me when a running back like Quinshon Judkins leaves Ole Miss is what they do after that. That to me is more interesting than why he left. And I know a lot of people will think that's crazy because the why he left is getting more interesting by the minute. But where I am fascinated is what they do after that. And more importantly, what Quinshon Judkins' wins above replacement is for Ole Miss football. Because in isolation, on the football field, on its own, he's an elite level football player. I think there's no denying that whatsoever. And I don't think anybody really is denying that. I did see some people talk about how he wasn't that good or whatever. Guys, he's an elite level football player, and everybody knows that. He's elite. On its own, him leaving Ole Miss is a big loss for Ole Miss because when you lose a player of that caliber, it is next to impossible to find a player of equal caliber. But that's only half the story. So, yes, I think that it is a big loss. He's an elite level player on the field. That production, I mean, go back and watch the Egg Bowl and tell me that that dude is not an elite level running back because he is. But what they do in his absence will dictate truly what kind of a loss it actually is. Because I saw some of the reaction that was, well, this changes Ole Miss for 2024. And a lot of people didn't do that, but some people did that. Well, this was a championship contending team. Now it's not anymore. I saw some of that in some places. And how do you know that right now? How can you truly say that that is the case? Because what do they replace him with? Him leaving is a big deal. However, what they have both returning and what they could bring in could alleviate that loss to the point where it's negligible when it comes to expectations and the ceiling of the 2024 team. So what will that be? I don't know. But that is where I'm more interested is what they do in his absence as opposed to why he left and the money and stuff like that. The first thing that Ole Miss has to do, and they've done it, it certainly sounds like they've done it, especially although I advise people not to read into what athletes put on social media. Certainly seems like the team was shining spotlights on Ulysses Bentley, where they were doing kind of like the next man up thing with him. And so all signs point to him returning to Ole Miss. They have to make sure that that happens. I think they've already done that, but just because it hasn't been announced or released yet, let's just say for the sake of discussion that that is item number one on their checklist. Have to do that. They have to lock down Ulysses Bentley. He's a bit of a different back than Judkins. When he gets the ball, he's highly productive. In the per carry stats, he was actually better than Judkins this year in yards per carry, stuff like that. Is he a better back than Judkins? No. But still, when he got the opportunities, he performed well. He's an experienced player, apparently a good locker room guy, stuff like that. So that's item number one. You got to lock him down. Think they have, but still, item number one. And number two, fill the void, replace good with good. Now, Judkins is more than good, but there are possible options in the portal that you would consider high-level backs that are, if they are not Quinshon Judkins, they are close. And that's all you really need to be if you're Ole Miss. You just need to find production from a back in the portal. And I know a lot of people are talking about Riscano. I understand why. Apparently, they really, really like him, but he hadn't taken a meaningful snap yet. You can't just go into the season with Bentley and Riscano and boom, like all problem solved. You don't need to add anybody. They need to add via transfer portal. They're going to, without a doubt. That person has to come in and be productive. If he can, then the loss won't really be all that significant because, as you've seen with Kiffin at Ole Miss, before Judkins got there, they led the SEC in rushing in consecutive years. There was one year where they had three backs over 500 yards, the Parrish Connor Ely year. And those guys were good backs, don't get me wrong, but they weren't elite. And yet they were still highly, highly productive, and their rushing offense was highly, highly productive. So losing a player like him is impactful. Yes, it is. Just on the field, we'll get to the off the field stuff, I'm sure, in the comments. But on the field, he's a highly productive, elite level player. He's a loss. But you have seen already with Kiffin at Ole Miss what the offense can be without Quinshon Judkins. And it's still one of the best rushing offenses in all of college football. They don't need elite to still be very, very good running the ball. So that is the task at hand here. As of right now, it seems bigger than what it could possibly be, depending on who they're able to add in the portal. That is more interesting to me, is how they're able to replace a guy like that, because this is college football now, guys. This is college football today. You're just going to lose elite players sometimes. It's just what happens. It happens to everybody. You've taken starters from Florida, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, two from Tennessee. I mean, you're doing it, right? You are taking starters from people. Sometimes your starters are going to go somewhere else as well, just on the surface. So this is college football today. They want to be pros. They are pros, so they're going to get treated like pros. Okay, he's gone, move on. Now what? It's a very NFL feel to it, but it's true. So Quinshon Judkins is gone. Okay, now what? What does Ole Miss do? And there's a real possibility that they can still get a really quality running back and continue to have one of the best rushing offenses like they've had over the last 4 years in the country. So, yeah, that's where my mindset is right now. We'll see what what you guys are thinking, and we'll just keep on plugging. So, first one, man, I wonder what we're going to talk about tonight. Surely there wasn't a major high-profile player from a school we watch hit the portal. Tim says, next man up. Joey says, wish Q the best. Next man up. Another one, wasn't expecting this happening. So it wasn't going to happen as of late last week. So as far as I understand it, a new deal was reached with the Grove Collective and Judkins right before the Peach Bowl. And I don't mean like the morning of, but like leading up to the Peach Bowl, like within 2-3 days of the Peach Bowl, a new deal was agreed upon going into that weekend. And something happened that weekend that changed circumstances. So all the off the field stuff that people are reporting and talking about, I don't know that to be true myself. There's no reason to believe that somebody like Chase Parham would steer you wrong or incorrectly. I saw that SEC Mike guy take a shot at local Ole Miss media after his Judkins greater than Dart take was getting kind of roasted because it deserved to be roasted. Jackson Dart is infinitely more valuable to Ole Miss football for a lot of reasons than Quinshon Judkins. And, I thought that was really unfair to somebody like a Chase Parham who wouldn't report what he reported without knowing it to be true. He doesn't roll like that. So I thought a quote unquote national guy taking a shot like that is really kind of pathetic. But long story short, I don't know that. I don't know if what Chase and Chuck are saying, I don't know if it's true myself. So I'll believe them because I know especially how Chase operates. And I don't think that he would make this up. But for me, I have known, and we've talked about the sheer volume of renegotiations with his NIL deals at Ole Miss, and the kind of headache that was creating. I did not know that extended to other stuff, but I did know that there was a lot of renegotiating when it came to the collective and a lot of headaches there. But I mean, that happens. You get big personalities in sports sometimes. You're going to get divas at times in sports, and you have to manage that and deal with it. He's certainly not the first person in sports that asked for more money, so I didn't really think anything of it. And I didn't notice during the Peach Bowl what other people did notice. And now the clips are being shared around. Something was wrong during that game. And Memphis Rebel on here, if you're watching tonight, I think you are. You brought it up after the Peach Bowl, and I kind of brushed it off. I didn't read too much into it because he played well in that game. But you saw something. Something was off between him and his teammates. It's clear. It is clear watching those videos now to see that something's off. So something was not right there. And whatever happened during the game over the Peach Bowl weekend made the situation untenable. And that was that. Because, again, as of this time last week, it was done. He was returning. The deal had been agreed upon. And something changed. And you could see the body language on the field in the Peach Bowl that told you that there was something up there, something amiss. The mutual parting of ways is probably for the best, you say. Ole Miss is saving a ton of money. And that's the thing. So they were already going after offensive linemen. I think that they're going to also, obviously, they're going to have to add a running back. I think they weren't done adding defensively either. Not volume of numbers, but they were still going to add players. Got a bunch of offensive linemen visiting this weekend. So they were already planning financially to have Judkins and to do those things. But yeah, many hundreds of thousands of dollars is now free to use. Not free being the relative term, of course. It is freed up. It is not tied up into anybody anymore. And you can get multiple impact players for what they were going to pay Quinshon Judkins. So if you're looking for positive spin, there it is. Money was most certainly freed up. Now you lose an elite level on the field. You lose an elite level player to have that money freed up, but you do have money freed up now, and so that is meaningful. That is important because they need to continue to add. And now you've got, again, many hundreds of thousands of dollars available for you now that you weren't expecting as of last week to have. So you say Ole Miss will be just fine. It depends on who they add. So I'm not ready to go that far yet. Again, like I said before, though, it's it's an offense that has highly productive running backs, regardless of if they're Quinshon Judkins or Henry Parrish, right? Because I don't think Parrish is anywhere on Judkins' level physically or athletically, but he was still productive in that offense. They led the SEC in rushing twice before he got there in their only 2 years. So from that perspective, I don't think that they will suddenly struggle to run the football moving forward. But I do need to see who they add first, because Riscano has never taken a meaningful snap before. You have no idea what he's capable of. And Bentley, God bless him, is as good of a player as he's been. He has had trouble staying healthy. And so right now, those are your backs. And that's not just fine. So I expect they're going to add. I think that they will. I think you're going to see them add an experienced back as well. But until that happens, I can't agree with they'll be just fine line of thinking just yet. After they add somebody, then we'll talk about it. But as of right now, as of this moment, there is a vital position of need now in the transfer portal that they must get right. So the staff has balled out so far and made the right decisions. You're not going to stop trusting them now. Excited for what's to come. Yeah, and I'm not usually a just trust the coaches guy, but they have earned the benefit of the doubt with personnel decisions. I mean, people wondered, why Michael Trigg, what happened there? Well, they made the correct decision there. I mean, they even managed the Spencer Sanders thing really well. That and other situations could have become a thing, if that makes sense. There could have been strife or an issue, and they handled that quite well, despite bringing in a 4-year starter to compete with Dart. That ended up working out. There were some hurt feelings involved in that, and those hurt feelings turned into an incredible year from your quarterback. Um, so they managed that well. They handled Chris Marshall well. They've earned the benefit of the doubt after winning 11 games and handling a lot of this stuff as well as they did. So there seems to be more than money. I think that's undeniable at this point. If the number that I heard that he agreed to last week is accurate, I don't think he's getting that from anybody else. I could be wrong. We'll see. But I'd be really surprised if somebody comes in with a lot more than what was agreed upon this time last week. So you could see in the Peach Bowl in some instances a rift between Q and the players. The only thing I noticed was him yelling at one of his offensive linemen after one play. That's the only thing I saw. Turns out, for the Eagle Eyes out there that went back and watched the game, they found a lot more than just that. So I think he's gone. He's not coming back. There is, as of now, and things change. Obviously, things change because as of 1 week ago, he was coming back with a fat new deal. So things change. But in this case, it's not happening. He's not coming back. This is a clean break. So thoughts on the Levy Portal Hall on offense after landing Kevin Coleman? That was a good pickup. He needed that one. That was a good one. Freshmen are great, but you don't know what they're capable of at this level. You know what he is. Got to keep adding, though. Got to add a running back. Speaking of running backs, got to add a running back. Got to keep adding on the offensive line. But that was a good pickup today. They're doing nice things in the portal. There's been some hand-wringing, but you got to be patient. It's just year one. They have to add a ton, and they're going to have to be really active in the spring window as well. But that was a really good pickup. 2 wide receivers that they've added that are, just exactly what you were hoping to get. So, man, you just want to talk about basketball? I know, right? We're so close to getting to talk about basketball all the time, and no, this is we'll be able to. You bet Auburn is a leader for him. Freeze and company want to get him no matter what. After last year, they are a desperate program. That would be very, very typical Hugh Freeze to overpay for a running back when they have far more important positions of need that they have to fill. But as I said on the radio show today, I know somebody in coaching and once told me that the line of thinking at the top at Ole Miss when he was there was, I don't care if you have to sign 10 quarterbacks. I want the number 1 class. So that would add up. He needs a win. He needs a PR win. It's an in-state kid. A lot of programs are going to be involved. I wouldn't be surprised if Florida State gets involved. Wouldn't be surprised at all if a lot of programs get involved. We'll see where that ends up. But I stand by it. I don't think that he's going to get what Ole Miss was going to give him. I really don't. I think that a pay cut, in effect, is coming. So fans need to move on for why he left, focus on what they can bring in and the next man up. And that's the thing. So as I say often, 2 things can be true at once. On one hand, criticism, in my opinion, you've heard me say this before, college football players who are commanding massive salaries larger than the overwhelming majority of every working American now open themselves up to criticism. And I think it's fair. I think it's within bounds because you want to be a professional. You now get treated like a professional. Think about what Saints fans have done and said to Derek Carr. You've had 70,000 of them booing him just taking the field this season. Guess what? He's got a big fat contract. That comes with the territory. If that upsets you, that's too bad. So fans criticizing Quinshon Judkins, I think it's fair game. And I apply that logic to every single college football player that is drawing a salary, being the important caveat. If you want to be a professional, you get treated like one. But yes, I do think that after today, for whatever it's worth, my opinion on what fans should do, I don't think my job should be. I mean, I try not to use, the platform that I have in my day job in this one to tell you how to feel, but I do think because of how it's gone down to not worry about it after today. Just look at who they possibly could be adding via portal and just kind of move on because what else can you do? Especially, and I didn't see this very much, but fans that were like upset with his decision to leave, like, why would he leave? This sucks so bad. You were celebrating taking starters from other schools, just a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, just move on. I mean, the team clearly has already. So, you heard about Jarquez Hunter and McClellan's representation reached out to Ole Miss in the past 24 hours. So I don't know that. I'll take your word for it. Jace McClellan, I think, would be somebody that I would want to have over Hunter, especially if you watched him run against Michigan. That defense and the way he played against Michigan, that would be, the guy that I would want the most if I was Lane Kiffin. Now, what the hell do I know about evaluating running backs compared to Lane Kiffin? But just from my view, from my amateur perspective, Jace McClellan, I think, would be the guy that I would want the most. Absent, I mean, I know people are talking about the Oklahoma State kid, but so again, I don't know that to be true. I'm just going to take your word for it on those two guys because I don't know that myself. But I mean, Hunter played on a god awful Auburn team. Didn't he run for 900 yards this year? Let's see. I want to make sure. I probably should have had this up, I suppose, before I start talking about it. But he's a Mississippi kid. We know that. Yeah, ran for over 900 yards and almost 6 per carry on a really bad Auburn team where nobody at all feared at all the quarterback, so they could just stack the box and stop the run. And he still ran for 900 yards on 5.7 per carry. So that would be a great pickup. He and Bentley in the backfield, or Jace McClellan and Bentley in the backfield would be massive pickups. And then you would feel really good again about your running back room, without a doubt. So I wonder if they're going to try to add one more, whether it be a high school guy in the portal also, or whether it be a high school guy or another portal player. We'll see. But man, if they can lock in one of those two that you brought up, then they'd be all right. They would be all right. Very interesting and a good player is Jace McClellan. Absolutely. Absolutely. ETN, didn't he commit to Georgia? Losing an elite player is difficult. Clearing a locker room problem off of a potential national championship contender makes it easier. Yeah. Yes, it does. You're concerned about McClellan being injury prone? I understand that. It's a good player, though. Really good player. He had his 3 best games against the 3 best teams he played this year, maybe. What was it, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Michigan? Hold on. No, because they played Georgia. Let me tell you, because I didn't memorize his stats when I had them up. So, yeah, ran for 890 on 5 per carry, 8 touchdowns. Let's see. Ran for 87 on 6.2 against that Michigan defense in the playoff game in which they lost. Let's see. Did not play against Georgia. Why not? Was he hurt? That's embarrassing that I just asked that question. Please forgive me, guys. I'm foggy brained right now. But anyway, yeah, ran for 115 against Tennessee, 105 against Ole Miss, averaged, let's see, only 4 per carry against that Texas team when they got beat. Only had 45 yards that night. I mean, he's a good back. He's truly a good player. So, anyway. Pretty unproductive day at work. Is it safe to say Bentley is back at least? Is there any truth to Jace McClellan rumor? I don't know. I don't know if there's any truth to it at all, frankly. Yes, but expect Bentley back. There's seemingly nothing else at the moment that you should expect besides him returning. So, if there's a position you can afford to lose, it's running back. Offensive line is much more of concern. Yeah, no doubt, and that's what makes the Judkins greater than Dart take so just absurdly stupid. Quarterback is so incredibly valuable, and running back is just not anywhere on the same playing field. Ole Miss's priorities this offseason were beefing up the lines of scrimmage first, and they've been able to do that so far on defense. Got to do that on offense as well, of course. But yeah, you can afford to lose running backs more than you can afford to lose a quarterback, or before you can afford to be poor on the defensive line, for example. It's I thought before today that would be an inarguable thing, but apparently it is. Griffin also leaving tells you Ruscano is going to play next year in some significance. That's probably a good thing to read into. Let you also say this: people buying NIL jerseys, do it at your own risk. Yeah, no doubt, because like in the NFL, your players got a contract for multiple years, right? And they have the buyback program. Not so much in college. So yeah, if you're going to make sure that if you're going to buy a jersey, that it's somebody that's sticking around, or like wait before their final year, I mean, you can buy your Dart jerseys right now and you're all good. You can buy your Trey Harris jerseys and you're fine. So, yeah, do it at your own risk. Just find a way to take the nameplate off, I guess. Support the Grove Collective, but buy the jerseys from DH Gate. Never know when someone could leave. Yeah, I'm about to order a Pelicans jersey on DH Gate myself, actually. But could they go back to a 2021 type offense where they were more pass oriented? Well, frankly, man, they weren't really more pass oriented in 2021. I mean, as a team, let's see. I mean, they had 4 guys that ran for over 500 yards on that team, if you want to include the quarterback. So, let's see. This is taking a minute. I'm sorry. My computer's being slow tonight. Streaming off of an old laptop and also trying to pull up stats is something. So, rushing. They had 4 players rush for more than 500 yards. Parrish with 553. Corral was 614. Connor was 647. Ely with 768. I mean, each of them had over 100 rushing attempts. So what? 105 plus 130 plus 130. So it's 360. It's 500 attempts if you had 152. They ran the football more than they passed the football that year by a pretty significant margin. So this is just what they do. It's just a running offense, and they always will be. Move pieces around doesn't matter. They're still going to run the football. It's what they do, and they're good at it. Who wins the championship? I hope Washington. I think Michigan. Brandon, thanks a lot, man. Glad to see you. I appreciate you again with the super chat. Thanks a lot, man. You are the best. You are the best. You say Kiffin is fine with Judkins being gone, and so am I. Dude's a beast, but don't act like Judkins was a household name before Kiffin took a chance on him. Yeah, everybody was sharing that picture of him sitting in the rain at the Alabama State Championship game. But that's college football today, man. That's why, if you want, and by you I mean the players, if you want this kind of freedom, then you take what comes with it. And so if you're not going to be loyal, then don't expect loyalty in return. Is what it is. hate that phrase, but I say it. And everybody says that they hate that phrase, but they say it. You don't know when it started, but you heard negative stuff about Judkins going back to the Tulane game. Still played really well this year, and that's why I'm curious to find out truly what happened this weekend, right? Because a lot of people have talked about the drama all season long, right? And so if that's true, and I have no reason not to believe that, they not only played and played well, but they still offered him a deal to return as of late last week, had a deal to return. So what happened this weekend that changed the mindset on that and the desire to keep him? What changed? That's what I want to know. Because despite all of the drama that people are talking about, he got all the carries. Not all the carries, but you get my point. He was the guy, and they picked him to go to the Connerly, which, as you guys can probably figure out, there was a reason for that. Picked him to go to the Connerly and offered him to stay, and then something happened. I don't know if I don't know if I will ever know truly what happened, but something happened this weekend that caused that to end. So, yeah, instead of burning your Judkins jersey, just get it changed to Centarian Perkins, no doubt. His leaving frees up NIL for offensive line, and an improved offensive line is more important than a running back. I agree. The NFL has taught us how you don't overpay for running backs, but someone is going to do it for Judkins. You've heard Jackson ask for Q to get out of the game. That's something that I don't know whether or not that's true. I don't know personally, but people are sharing that video of Jackson yelling in the direction of Lane Kiffin, not like yelling at Lane. It wasn't a confrontation between the two of them, but yelling about something, and people are claiming that was him telling Lane, get him out, get him off the field. So that makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about the offensive line and how he treated them and what they thought of him. I don't know that to be true. I can't verify it myself. So, but you see the video, right? I mean, in the Peach Bowl here, I forget what time of the game it was. Let me make sure okay. I don't remember what time of the game it was, but you see him. I'll be able to tell you here. I'm pulling the video up now. This was when Ole Miss was deep in Penn State territory. Judkins got tackled for like a 2-yard gain. He's laying on his back, reaches his hand up for Williams to help him up, and Williams looks at him and just goes, nope, and walked away. I mean, that is something that you can't ignore. You can't deny that. Something is off there. Very clearly, something is off there. And that wasn't the only negative interaction with an offensive lineman during that game. It wasn't just a one-off. That's not a Williams problem. That was throughout the course of the game. And so clearly there is some kind of validity to what you're saying here. I mean, clearly there is. Wish he stayed, but if they're going to get to the next level, you need to be able to handle losing great players. Hope they can, and you think they can. Yeah, it is a test. It is a test for Kiffin here, losing a star like this and replacing him with somebody that can give you a similar kind of production. I think they're going to be able to do it, but we'll have to see. The clip that Dart posted on Instagram says a lot to you. The Tom Brady clip, yeah, that was something. That was something. Yeah, if Chase says something like that, there's not going to doubt it. It's not how he rolls. So, somebody in the know stated that he wouldn't do anything extra without being paid, team activities, team photos, etc. I actually did hear a story about one thing in particular that became an issue that absolutely should not have been an issue when it came to. I don't want to burn the source on this because it's a very specific thing, but let's just say whoever that person in the know you're talking about was, on at least one instance, there was an issue for something that most definitely should not have been one. If they pick up Hurd and Percy Lewis, hell, you'll play running back for 100,000. Just have to make sure the trainers take care of you better than the VA. Yeah, Percy Lewis is an interesting case because, I mean, that's another Mississippi State player. But if Pro Football Focus is accurate, his pressures per snap number is unbelievably good. Unbelievably good. So having that guy would be big if that's in fact what happens. Judkins looked checked out in the trophy ceremony. In fairness to that specific thing, they all kind of looked like they were checked out in that ceremony. But definitely something off with the team relationships where there's smoke, there's fire. Yeah, the more people keep finding little nuggets like that in the Peach Bowl, the more you start to believe, what you're hearing. You wish Ole Miss fans wouldn't degrade Judkins' worth, though. But here's the thing, man. I understand where you're coming from, truly. I understand where you're coming from. But that's a conversation you have in professional sports now. Or that's the conversation you always have in professional sports is Derek Carr worth $150 million? Whoa, wait a minute. Daniel Jones got paid what? He's not worth that. That's an everyday conversation in professional sports. And so when you're talking about a salary that is more than the NFL players, at least the practice squad players are making, what's NFL league minimum? I think it's over $1 million. I think it's over $1 million. No, it's 700 in 2022. It was 705,000. The minimum for 2023 was 750,000. So it's going to raise, or it raises in their contract, but you're talking about a guy that gets paid what NFL players get, more. So at least that was what was offered, more than the league minimum number I just gave you. So you can absolutely debate his worth at that point. He's a professional, getting paid a hell of a lot more than all of us are. I have no problem. I morally just have no problem at all discussing the worth or lack thereof of somebody drawing a paycheck like that. That is professional sports. And so you want to be a pro, you want to get paid like a pro, here you go. You get talked about and treated like a pro. It's a good question. You wonder what Ole Miss's record is with McClellan or Etienne instead of Judkins. He was great against LSU and State, but you think they'd still win both of those, definitely the Egg Bowl. Don't forget Bentley was great against LSU as well. If Ole Miss gets Hunter, keeps Bentley and Riscano, do I think they'll be more fine than not? Yes, if they're able to do that. I am way, way behind on messages, so I'm just going to kind of rapid fire here as we wrap up because I want to get to as many as I can. And again, shout out to PTG Brandon for being a rock star that he is. But I do want to try to rapid fire here because I want to include you guys. That's the whole point of this. But there's a lot, so let's try to get through these fast. He's worth a ton of production, but if the distractions in the locker room are detrimental to the team overall, you don't care who it is. They don't need to be there, and especially if your quarterback thinks so. If your alpha, which is what Jackson Dart is to that team, if your alpha quarterback believes that you are a distraction, then that's kind of it. You don't think Judkins was the difference in any game this season? He's very good, but he can be replaced even if it needs to be by committee. Here's another one. I'd rather see Ole Miss have someone other than Jarquez Hunter. I get that with the stuff that happened this offseason. Certainly understand. Bentley, a sledgehammer-type back out of maybe a group of 5 with proven production and a situational spellback will give you the same production in your opinion. Bentley's a really good back, but not a feature. Obviously, they'll work to find someone soon. Yeah, I don't think he's a 25 to 30 carry a game guy. That's not his game, and that's okay. But which running backs would I target in the portal? So I am behind. We have talked about a few of those. for sure. Diego Pound's coming for a visit. That's good news. They got to get better on the offensive line for sure. Will these NIL numbers ever become public? Only after they become employees. So not until then. 6 yards to carry down to 4 yards to carry. Last year to this year, he's used up and he's getting a pay cut. Here's another one. Judkins leaving the SEC to save his body for the NFL. Just a thought. He said this was his best. This was best for his football career. Maybe tired of the beating his body is taking every SEC week. If he wants to, quote, compete for championships, then why would he go to an Auburn program that hasn't won more than 6 games since 2019, 3 straight losing seasons? Because if that's where he ends up, he doesn't care about competing for championships. You don't know if they'd you don't know if they'd have interest, but you could see Michigan being interested in Judkins to replace Quorum. That's an interesting one for sure. Answered this a little bit earlier, but that's okay. Is Bentley for sure coming back? Not confirmed, but it certainly does seem like that is the case. Especially now, it would be in Ole Miss's best interest to make sure that that happens, and it does certainly seem like that is going to happen. Even as bad as State, Arkansas, et cetera, were this year, they still have NFL bodies. You'd rather run against Indiana, Purdue, et cetera, than any of those guys, or TCU, Iowa State, or Boston College, Virginia Tech. Yeah. So we need to talk about this more in detail later. But yeah, State's incoming high school players looked really good in the All-American Bowl. That I bet you, Chase, were excited to watch that. You should have been. If they do get Bentley back, you'd like to see them bring in a bruising old school type back to have a Lendale White, Reggie Bush combo. Judkins only needed 800 more yards to hold the all-time rushing title at Ole Miss. That is done. That is done. You know, I like that starting this year in regionals and super regionals, they will allow players to have their walk-up songs played. It's about freaking time. What a dumb rule that was. And just unbelievable. I'm going to skip a few of these that we've already talked about. I hope you guys understand. I'm not ignoring you, I promise. NIL jerseys should have Velcro name patches now. Yes. Yes, they should. Talked about that video. It's part NIL, though, but the behind the scenes played a huge role. I mean, for what it's worth, I even heard that the NIL deal that he was offered made the team mad because of the strife. Not jealousy, but no, he hasn't earned that in our eyes. The team is ecstatic that Jackson Dart. See, that's the thing. Too many people talk about, well, NIL is going to cause jealousy. Not usually. Because in Ole Miss's case, the team is perfectly fine, totally cool with Jackson Dart being the highest paid player on the team. They're like, hell yeah, that's my quarterback. Love him. Let's go. It's when a guy gets an NIL deal that they don't feel like he has earned, that can become an issue. But they're fine with players getting paid a lot of money. They're fine with that because they're smart enough. I mean, I know they're college kids, but most of them have perspective. That guy's better than me. He deserves more than me. It's a fact of life. There are guys that do what I do that get paid more than me because they're better than me. It's just a fact of life. It is what it is. So most of them understand that. Judkins didn't fly back with the team. I did not know that. I'll take your word for it there. You remember back in the midseason when Judkins was pondering some LSU stuff? That was the rumor. After the Tulane game, that was the rumor, but kind of squashed it. But in your opinion, Trey Harris is the best player on the team, not Judkins or even Dart. Ooh, well, it depends on what you mean by best player. And I think you are saying that the best player at their position. I know you. I don't think that you are suggesting that Trey Harris is more important than that of Jackson Dart. That Williams. Thank you. Okay, so the Williams-Judkins interaction was in the third quarter before Ole Miss scored to make it 31-17. You would much rather have a slightly less talented player that's 100% bought in, like a Priestcorn, than a superstar talent that causes internal conflicts and does not fully commit to the team. Trig. And look at who is more valuable than the other. So, yeah, Edward, you are right. You are absolutely right about that. You've seen Ole Miss fans kind of degrade his character. That shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen, but it still kind of falls into my line of thinking of he's getting paid better than everybody saying that. So is what it is. People have, and I know the money is different. Derek Carr gets paid a lot more than Quinshon Judkins, but I keep going back to Derek Carr. I mean, Saints fans take everything he says in press conferences right now and rips it apart. That's what happens. Yeah, I don't think that Ole Miss will face Judkins next year. No, Bo, you might be in late, and that's okay. But no, I do not think that he will get what Ole Miss. I don't think he'll get even what Ole Miss was offering him. So you'll be surprised if he gets a quarterback level play because he won't. Wow, Brandon again. Let's go, Brandon. I didn't mean the pun, but whatever. You are the man, PTG Brandon at it again. An absolute, just an incredible supporter here is PTG Brandon. You'd rather see 3 linemen than Judkins and Sanders on the payroll. Yeah, and that's another thing. Sanders is gone now, so that helps too. But yeah, and now they can, if they need to, stretch their previously thought budget, like we talked about before. But it bears repeating. They were always planning on going after multiple offensive linemen. Like, they were financially prepared to do that. But now they have extra. And that matters because in case that they have to spend a little bit more to lock down a lineman that they love or to get one of these running backs, they have it now. And they have more than what to get a replacement running back. They have hundreds of thousands more than what it's going to cost. So it's a big help for the other positions to not have Judkins's salary on that payroll anymore. You've always listened to my podcast, and that is usually the best way for me to listen to the time zones listening in Australia. Hey, appreciate that, Michael. Glad you're here live. But yes, this does get placed right into the podcast feed. So for those of you listening in podcast form, and there are a good bit of you, and I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for doing that. So I love the live back and forth, though. I think it makes the podcast content really, really good. And so I do podcast independently of the live stream, of course. But this, I think, is a real benefit. So appreciate you, Michael. And I need to ask you one day why you are in Australia, because I think I would be really interested in that story. So also, there's a guy named Field Days on YouTube who I absolutely love. His name is Matt Field, I think is his real name. But he and his girlfriend live in like a homestead out in the bush, like in the middle of nowhere. And he will go on like 48-hour, like live off the land missions in the bush where he'll like catch mud crabs and stuff like that. And he's awesome, man. He's check him out. I'm sure you deal with guys that look and talk like him every day, but he's interesting to me. So he may ultimately lose money in the deal. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. PTG Brandon might be paying Judkins next. No, Judkins is gone, man. He's gone. So, yep. Talked about McClellan earlier. I don't know that myself. If he hops in the portal and Ole Miss gets him, that's big time. Yes, I will be having the regular stream on Sunday. We will do that for sure. NFL playoff, or not NFL playoffs, but the final week of the NFL season will be going on, but that's okay. We're still going to do that. We'll talk national championship and also basketball, guys. We'll talk basketball because we've got big basketball games this weekend. So, yeah, Chase, Brandon should make you feel bad. He should make you feel bad. But I know you're a radio show listener. PTG should be familiar to you with our fishy line of the week. So Dart is the most important player on the team. Yes, it's not debatable. And I don't know how college football people think that it is, because it's not. Judkins is a perfect example of why fans are frustrated with college football. Players like him are squeezing their programs for every dime just to opt out of big games and threaten transferring. And they finally had enough. Finally had enough. It's more interesting to see moves like this because with the transfer portal and NIL, because Ole Miss isn't a downtrodden program right now getting poached. Exactly. This is a very unique situation. So that's why I tend to believe the reporting that there's more to it than just money. Because if everything was peachy, it wouldn't have happened. So an average running back with a solid O-line will work in this system. It already has worked in this system. You're right. Would I ever do a Twitter space, Discord, etc., with live interaction? People have brought up a Discord to me before, for the radio audience and just like for me to have on my own. I think the radio audience having a Discord would be a shit show. Forgive my language, but I think it would. I think a lot of people with bad intentions would go in there and just kind of ruin the experience for everybody. Because it's a large audience, and I'm proud of that. Don't get me wrong; it's great. I mean, we have a really good thing going, and that's awesome. But I do think that trying to moderate a Discord with that would be a losing endeavor. I don't think it would work. For me to just kind of have a Discord, I thought about it. I've looked into it. The more you ask about it, the more I think I should. I've never done a Twitter space before. Curious to know what that. This is going to sound bad. I'm curious to know what I would get out of that, if that makes sense. Because here, like I get podcast content, right? That's the most important thing. The YouTube is just like a nice little added thing. I get something out of this also, for my actual job. What is a Twitter space? What do I get? I don't know. It's me overthinking it, of course. Just supporting for a new curtain rod. I'm never getting a curtain rod. That's going to stay like that forever. I turned the wrong way, but oh well. There we go. It's going to stay like that forever. Never getting a curtain rod. Although now that I apparently have people snooping around my house, I need to move that snowboard. That might be my most prized possession right there. I don't snowboard. Never used that. It's Sean White autographed that snowboard. That was very bragger of me. I need to not do that anymore. Please forgive me for that. That's very lame. But yeah, I love that thing. So yeah, thing's awesome. Anyway, can I have your autograph? No, you can't. Because it would devalue whatever you made me sign. It would go down in value. So absolutely not. You cannot. The Picayune running back that went to Oregon. Yeah, I do think that they will be able to get more experience. Now, if they can get him too, that's great. Good for them. However, I do think that they will add somebody that that's better. More experienced, I should say. Chase, you didn't have to do that. Thank you, man. And again, in for the new curtain rod. You guys would. Chase, you're the best, man. Thank you. And I know that you've got triplets, so you shouldn't be giving me money, but thank you for it anyway. Oh, now I'm just getting trolled for the curtain rod. Hashtag get Borky a new curtain rod. You'll start the GoFundMe. I had one up there and it broke, Another curtain rod. Bo, thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate you. You are way too kind, and it's very, very unnecessary, but I'm thankful for it. Radio Discord would be a war zone between Ole Miss and State fans. That would not be good. No, it would just devolve into a disaster. It absolutely would. For the Curtain Rod Collective, huh? We're on to something. We're on to something now with this Curtain Rod deal. Edward, my friend, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. Aren't you a college student? You shouldn't be giving me money, but thank you, man. You are way too kind. Appreciate that. Answer that to that is you're Australian. An Australian barracking for Ole Miss. Came across for an Egg Bowl in 2019. Terrible game, but you met a heap of people who are awesome. Wait, so you're an Australian. You live in Australia, and you have no ties to Ole Miss whatsoever, right? Am I understanding that correctly? And you came to an Egg Bowl and have just what brought you to an Egg Bowl? I need to interview you. That's awesome. We need to connect. I need to hear more about this. Thank you for all the great coverage this season, says Boko. Thank you, man. Thank you, Bobo, for the super Boko. Is that Buko? Boko? Either way, thank you a lot, man. And you don't need to thank me for coverage though. It's what I do, and I'm just happy to do it, and I'm happy that people are willing to listen and pay attention. So, also from a fellow father of a 4-year-old, Godspeed, brother. It's you and her. Yeah, we his mom and I do the best we can, and some days we do better than others. But she's a phenomenal mother, and so he's lucky. He's lucky to have her, and I would like to think at times he's lucky to have me too. But you have 3 of those, and I don't know how you exist. I don't know how you do it. 3 of that age, I don't know how you do it. 1 stresses me out. 3, don't know how you do it. Oh, Memphis Rebel. I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. That is the worst. That is just the worst. Man, I'll be thinking about you tonight. That's a shame. I hate to hear it. If I did a Discord, it would basically have the Mississippi version of the Feinbaum show. Yeah, but unfiltered. Unfiltered. So, Democracy says we voted, and I need a new curtain rod. Curtain rod greater than college degree? Maybe. Need me to come to a game with Ole Miss France? Yeah. I mean, we've got Australia here. We got France. You don't have a choice as a powerful motivator. Yeah. No doubt. Oh, man. Well, I appreciate you guys. I'm glad we've had some fun tonight, but I've got to get going. I appreciate all of you, especially those of you, PTG Brandon, again, just bringing the heat as always. Just awesome, and unnecessary, but thankful for it. Chase, Bo, Edward, Boko or Buko, forgive me for not knowing what it is. Help me out next time you drop a chat. But thanks to all of you. And wow, so you really just, Michael, you really just showed up to an Ole Miss game. That's incredible. Read about the Grove and the experience and thought you have to do that. That is awesome, man. If you're going to make a return trip, I think you said that. Possibly Oklahoma. That's the one. That's the one. Go to the Oklahoma game. Even if you don't go to multiple, like you said, that's the one that you got to go to. Because Egg Bowl, you don't really get the real weekend experience because of the day of the game. So, yeah, go to Oklahoma. I should open my own message board. That space, though, is so hard to get into now. I mean, you've got 2 big sites that cover Mississippi State. They don't really have a rivals presence, but you've got On3, and you've got Gene's page, and you've got, for Ole Miss, I mean, you've got the big 3, and there's blog spaces, like fan blogs, like Rebel Walk, and there's just a lot, to do a message board like that. I don't know. I've got to figure something out, though. because I like the possibilities of how many different platforms there are, and I think we do a lot right. Like we have a radio show, and we obviously have the podcasting space, and the Super Talk is a YouTube channel. Like we're in all kinds of places, but you can always be in more. So you can always be in more. So anyway, you guys are the best. Thank you so much, and we'll see you Sunday night. We will see Curtain Rod Chronicles for the message board. Yeah, it's actually a good idea. But anyway, see you guys Sunday night. Sunday night, I'll see you then, and you'll have a good weekend. Enjoy the basketball. I can't wait for the basketball. Enjoy the basketball, and I'll see you guys on Sunday.